Richter scale presented by Tectonic Takes. My name is Abel, and I am part of the writing team at Tectonic Takes. This is a brand new show that we are bringing to you guys. We want to bring you guys some insight into the culture of the San Jose earthquakes and just the Bay Area in general by bringing in some guests whose jobs or passions have to do directly with the San Jose earthquakes. And this is the first episode of 5 episodes that we have planned. This is our first guest, Sam. Sam, would you like to introduce yourself?
How's it going? Yeah, thanks for having me. My name is Sam Benavidez. I'm the creative manager of content for the Earthquakes.
Nice. And you are the first guest of this show that I have been planning since I was in high school, which isn't really a long time because I did graduate this year. Uh, but it's been like in my mind for like over a year now. And thanks to Tectonic Takes, this is now a reality. But tell us a bit about yourself, Sam. Like, where do you come from? Where were you born, raised?
Yeah, so I come from the East Bay, born and raised in the East Bay. Yeah, I mean my dad was a big soccer fan. He would take me to Earthquakes games at Spartan Stadium, right? I guess Clash games technically, and then Earthquakes in the early 2000s. And so yeah, I come from the East Bay, but a line of Earthquakes fans, and just enjoying every day here.
So, earthquakes runs deep in your family, you could say.
Yeah, for sure. I remember, when I was a kid, my dad and his two brothers, they had bought, season tickets together,
Mhm.
and this had to be Clash years, I guess. But they would buy season tickets, and then they would sit around and pick their games and divvy up the tickets because they were physical tickets, obviously back then. So I remember seeing them at a table, like, "Hey, I want this game, I want this game," and you know,
But
so it was kind of cool. That was kind of my first memory.
yeah, I think it's pretty cool that it runs as far as like the San Jose Clash, because I mean, you're speaking to me. I'm 18. I'm a relatively new Earthquakes fan. I think I began to follow the Earthquakes around like 2013, 2014. So I think it's pretty cool that like you have, all these years of, getting to know the San Jose Earthquakes and just being like part of it, I guess. Uh, but if you want, you could tell us like what exactly is it that you do? Like what is it? What is your job basically?
Yeah, so technically my title is creative manager of content, but I think it's kind of a interesting title. But I think probably helpful to hear the background a little bit more is I started out of college helping with the social media team a little bit and writing a little bit for the website, and it developed into a full time job. Running, and I eventually ran all the social media accounts. And then me and Paul were kind of Paul Dewhurst, who you may know, is we kind of tag teamed social and website for a while, and from there I started to help out the creative services team, which handles most of our videography and our photography and just game presentation and things like that. Started to kind of help him out with that, dabble in the camera work a little bit, and eventually full-time moved over to the video department, to the creative services department, I should say, mainly with the focus in video. And yeah, and then the recent role changed because creative manager of content. That's includes all those things, and also gives me an opportunity to give a little more insight or give a little more opinion into the branding of the club a little bit, with our brand manager Taz, and some other marketing directions of the club. So
Yeah, so I guess you could say that you've been kind of like through many ranks in your job.
yeah, I mean, relatively. I mean, it's like I've been there since 2015. So I mean, it's a long time ish because it's the only real job that out of college that I've had full time. So you could say that for sure, but there's people that have been there longer than I have for sure too. So
But
yeah.
it's still a pretty long time that you've had this job. I mean, relative to your life, you're saying that right after college, this was like the only full time job that you've had. Yeah,
Right. Yeah. So yeah, it was actually it started part time and then turned into full time, within half a year or so. But yeah, I mean, I had other jobs, like all kinds of side jobs in college and before then, and internship or whatever. But yeah, this was the first the first full time gig.
I think that's pretty cool. I think that shows a lot about your determination in regards to your career. But this interest for media and multimedia, like where did it all start?
Oh, I don't know. I always liked how brands portrayed themselves, whether that's with their social media accounts or their art and design, their marketing campaigns, stuff like that. It's always kind of interested me, and I remember like old campaigns from when I was a kid. Like I just kind of was interested in how that was all made, and my mom was in marketing as well. So I don't know, just kind of that's just the direction I headed, and getting a position with the Earthquakes. Obviously, that's something I had known about already, so it helped me transition quicker, I think, into the role, knowing the club and history a little bit. So yeah.
You say your mom worked in marketing. Was that kind of like part of the reason why this passion of yours sparked? Would you say?
I mean, it must be. I don't know for certain. It's not like I was thinking like, oh, my mom did this, so I gotta do it or anything. But it must be where some of that creativity comes from. I think 'cause she's really creative.
Yeah, I mean, there's always like something that we can't really like explain where it came from, But
Yeah.
you can kind of like make assumptions sometimes. Like as you can see here, I have like a bunch of instruments. This keyboard's my dad's, but um, both of my parents are musicians. But it took me like 16 years to finally like learn to play an instrument. So it just kind of like comes out of nowhere, but you kind of assume that it came from like family or something.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out that part of my family history as well. I play the drums, and I don't know. There's no one I know in my family that's a musician, so I'm trying to figure that out.
It's just like things that like just come out of nowhere. But could you tell us a little bit more about your experience as a drummer as well?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I started playing when I was about 12. Just like three of my friends, we were getting into music at that time, and just um, you know, AC/DC and whatever you find as a kid that is kind of rock and roll and stripped down. So like we all just basically picked an instrument. And you're like, okay, I want to play this one, and then we did that and formed some bands and toured a little bit up and down the coast. When we were in our late teens and early 20s, and still play a little bit to this day. I just don't have the time, obviously, to and we're not all close to each other. So, but yeah, I love playing drums. I love music.
And yeah, it'd be pretty dope to get the band back together, wouldn't you say? With your old
Oh
friends.
yeah, yeah, man, that'd be awesome.
So moving on, you did mention that you went to college. Could you tell us a little bit more about the necessary schooling for this career of yours? There might be people listening who might be me like a year ago, who might be interested in careers in media. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So my specific background comes from a communications major in college, and that's not necessarily what I am doing now, but it is also in a sense, like it teaches you, a lot of ways of writing and analyzing things, and gives you a little bit more of a marketing and PR brain a little bit, and that helped, I think, refine those things
Hmm.
that I was already kind of interested in. But then, the biggest teacher for me is just like doing things. So, once I started to branch out uh, help out with the camera. Sorry, for a second. Help out with the camera and stuff like that, and just learning new things like that, doing it by hand. Like that's the way.
Yeah, it's kind of like you start to pick up something, and that's where like it all comes together.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally.
Because but I took multimedia courses in high school, and I remember being really interested in it, and it was until I picked the camera, and it was like uphill from there. Like it just sparks that in you. So
Yeah, I wish I would have had it earlier. I mean, this guy's like, I don't know if you know Taz. He's our brand manager. He's like unbelievable uh, videographer, editor. He went to, I think film school and did all that. And I kind of sometimes wish I did because it's just like, if I ask him like, how do I do this? And he's like, oh, just do this. And I'm like, wow, that's
it's like so
pretty
easy
amazing.
for them, right?
Yeah, yeah. So still a long way to go, but always learning.
But I still think that you have the benefit of being able to learn a bunch of different things. You said you went into communications, but I mean that's an umbrella term for so many things. So you definitely learned a lot from that, right?
Oh yeah, I mean I think it was a good thing in the end for me because like I didn't know specifically what I
Mm-hmm.
wanted, and and working at the earthquakes is a blessing too in a way because um, we don't have a giant 1,000-person staff like some of these tech companies. Like you kind of have to learn how to do a lot of things, and that's um, what I had to do. So it's been good.
So now, can you take us through like what a regular day at your job would be like?
Yeah. Which day of the week do you think? I think it kind of varies, like because especially with COVID and stuff now, we're kind of at home a good amount still. So I mean, there's days where we're at home and we do Zoom meetings like everybody else, and then I'm working on my edits from whatever I shot the last week, and Tuesday, Wednesday comes up, and we've got some ideas that we need to go and execute. So we need to show up and go to the stadium and go to training sessions or whatever and prepare for the weekend games. And then whether it's home or away in the weekend, you're just ready to go and shoot and capture whatever happens. So that could entail me just showing up, with everybody else at the stadium, or like me or someone else will go on the road with the team, and and get what we can from those trips. So yeah, it really depends on the day, honestly. I mean, you could say a lot of days are sometimes the same and calm, but a lot of things change a lot of the time too. So
So it varies, but you'd say that in the weekdays you're kind of like planning what you guys are gonna do for match days, right?
yeah, I mean, everything about this job obviously, is centered around soccer
Mm-hmm.
and not just soccer, but game day when all eyes are on the team, right? So everything you do in the weeks prior, the days prior to a game, is to prepare the fans for what they're about to see on the field. So whether that's getting to know a player through a video, or if it's our graphics team making some really cool stuff to let you know what's happening at the game, or whether it's stats or whatever it is, you want to keep the fans informed and entertained, so that they're excited to come to the game on Saturday.
Yeah, and I think that's, and I would say I'm not part of your team. I don't work for the Earthquakes, but I feel like I could say with confidence that pleasing the fans is probably like the most important part of your job, right?
Oh, for sure, yeah, yeah. Um, because we all know what it's like. We're all fans of mostly the earthquakes beforehand, but there's people from out of state and they have their teams, and you know how it is to be a fan. So you want to give people, you know, some entertainment, and you want to build a, a really exciting brand for people to see. And you don't really like to use the word brand too much, I guess, for like a soccer club, but that's kind of our job, is to help manage the everyone's perception of the club off the field. And so I think that's a challenge, but it's fun.
And you also mentioned that you get to go on the road sometimes.
Yeah. Hmm.
Could you tell us maybe like your favorite experience going on the road? Maybe it had to do with the player, coaching staff. Could you tell us something about that?
Oh man, uh, favorite. I don't know. I've done a lot of things. I will say that I've gone to the Cancun preseason trips with the team, and the first Cancun preseason trip was pretty memorable just because everybody's starting to to know each other, and there's a lot of new faces, there's a new staff, and at first you're kind of like you're finding your boundaries, trying to figure out like what the coaches and staff want and don't want, but then they just kind of they let you in, and they're just really entertaining, and you know the bus rides, even just the bus rides are fun, just like blasting music and everybody's having a good time, and there's the whole season ahead of you. So there's always that excitement every preseason. And Cancun specifically, that one time, because it's something we hadn't done before. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't have anything really specific for you off the top of my head, but like those preseason trips and playoff trips, even though we haven't obviously been successful in the first round of the playoffs, I've been on those trips, and just the excitement, you feel you really feel what's going on in the locker room, because you're literally there, and you're traveling. You know what I mean? You're traveling every step of the way with them, and then when you're on the field filming, you feel like you're about to lose your lunch because you're so nervous. And it's like it wouldn't be the same watching at home sometimes. So it's those kind of things are just kind of cool to me. I keep those to me for sure.
Yeah, bus rides are definitely underrated.
Oh yeah.
I was on the soccer team at my high school all 4 years, and I could tell you that bus rides, and they're just like some of the funniest moments. You get to really bond with the team. So yeah, it's no surprise that you mentioned those.
Yeah, they're pretty funny. Like obviously some of them can be boring or long or quiet, but there's the good ones are pretty great.
So now we're kind of like beginning to wrap this up. Just like one final couple of questions. What do the San Jose Earthquakes mean to you, and how, in your opinion, does this fuel the Bay Area pride?
That's a good question. The Earthquakes are a lot to me. I mean, they gave me my first real job out of college. I have a ton of memories with all the staff upstairs and the players and staff downstairs. It's in my family. Like I said, my dad, would go to the games back in the day. He went to the first game in '74 as well. So it's just something that's in my life. It's definitely part of me. Like I can't imagine life without it. So they're pretty important to me. And for Bay Area pride, I mean, it's like it's interesting. That's kind of something we try and touch on a lot in our marketing, is San Jose pride specifically. Is I'm from the East Bay, so I know how it feels when the A's shout out Oakland or the East Bay, or the Raiders when they were here, same deal. So, and it doesn't exclude people from the rest of the Bay Area, in my opinion. I don't think just because a team reps their city doesn't mean it excludes the rest of the Bay.
Right.
So, being the Bay's only MLS team, we kind of made the decision to stick to our roots in San Jose. People wanted us to move to San Francisco or bigger places, and every step of the way, our ownership of whatever point in history always said, we want to stay in San Jose, except for one point, obviously.
Yeah.
But so that's really important to us, is to have people, especially in San Jose, first and foremost, to take pride in us, and know that we're here for the city and we want to represent the city, but we don't want the rest of the Bay Area to be excluded by it. We want them to think, okay, yeah, San Jose is doing cool stuff down there, and if you're from another part of the Bay Area, and like we want you to be part of it too. Just because you don't live here doesn't mean you can't enjoy it. So come down to a game, watch what we're doing, and we're for the whole Bay Area for sure.
For sure, and maybe some people after listening to this, they might keep their eyes peeled for you and some of the other media creators at the next game.
Yeah, definitely say what's up to me, or Taz or Michelangelo, Paul, Marco, all those guys. Everybody does a great job here, so yeah.
All right, Sam. So, any closing thoughts?
No, thanks for having me. Thanks for having me on for the first edition here.
Yeah, thank you so much for being our first guest. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, good luck the rest of the way, man. Appreciate it.
Do you have any Twitter handles, Instagram you want to share with us?
Sure. Mine is De La Sam, DELASAM. But you can follow that if you want, but follow the SJ, at SJ Earthquakes if you're not already. I hope you probably already are if you're watching this, but follow it on everything else.
For sure, and we'll keep that in the description as well. Also, make sure to follow Tectonic Takes. And I believe that about wraps it up for the first episode of Off the Richter Scale. So thank you, Sam. Thank you for being a part of this. And thank you guys for tuning in. And I'll see you guys in the next episode.